You know, they say IT is the least rewarding job there is because when things work, that's how it's supposed to work, right? But when things don't work, we're the worst people in the world. So when my phone rang and I saw it was our head of marketing, the first thing I thought was, uh-oh, what's wrong? Sophie tells me, hey, I've got a great opportunity for you. I'm thinking, hey, finally the reward I've been waiting for. And she says, you get to go do a keynote at TIA 2015 to talk about the future of digital infrastructure. And I was like, thanks, Sophie, I really appreciate that. All those late nights are finally worth it, thank you. I thought it was quite interesting. We've been talking for years about the convergence of telco and IT, and so when I was given the opportunity to speak and share some of the things that we're doing internally at Ericsson, it's quite an exciting opportunity. So let me jump in. I promise I've had 2 or 3 lattes, so we'll roll through this. I wanted to have the obligatory sales slide on who Ericsson is. I did use 2013 numbers because IT is always late, so I thought I'd do that. But most importantly for you, the thing I wanted to point out here are the numbers on the bottom left, because that's the world that I'm in. I spend most of my time in, and that is the infrastructure that we have in Ericsson that supports the 35,000 patents, the 25,000 R&D employees, and roughly the $5 billion a year we spend on R&D, which is really the engine that is driving a lot of the things that you'll be talking about during the week and some of the things that Andre and Joe have just mentioned. But I'll plant the seed there of that world of R&D and how Ericsson has to transform ourselves as well. So again, some of the material I'm hoping to talk more industry and trends, but I wanted to expose you a little bit, take a different approach and show you some of the things we're doing internally to drink our own champagne or eat our own dog food, as you say. So what are our R&D employees working on? They're building the network society, working with the carriers, the operators, our partners and suppliers. If you think about it, it took 100 years to reach 1 billion fixed subscribers, 25 years to touch 6 billion mobile subscribers. And the pace of change that's going to happen over the next 5 years is dramatic. You saw what Andre's plans are, and we're a big part of that. But our teams are working on connecting all of these things, primarily focused on software. With 25,000 people focused on delivering software, and that's the way we're going to communicate with all of these people, devices, machines, etc. So today, software is the primary way we talk to devices. You heard Andre mention it. The operator business is your software, your business. I'm not sure if everyone in the room, and these lights are really bright, but our business is our software. It's already been touched upon, and you'll hear it 100 times this week. But every company is now in the data business. What else is happening? Everyone wants to move to cloud. We've been talking about it for years. We've talked about strategies, but enterprises want it. I, as head of IT in enterprise IT, I need it to deliver the speed and immediacy that our internal customers want, and to realize the new economics of cloud computing. However, the promise of cloud technologies has fallen short for many of the world's enterprises. And we can look at the math. If you talk to CIOs in 2011, most of them would say, yes, cloud is important, it's hot. They would define a strategy, but there wasn't really any clarity as to what it is. But as you can see, based on recent studies, most large enterprises in the Fortune 500 still have not fully embraced the cloud. Why? Based on studies, we're seeing that the 2 primary reasons why people are still hesitant to move to the cloud, from an enterprise perspective and an enterprise IT perspective, is all about governance and security. So executives have to choose. We have to choose. What do we want? Do we want speed or do we want security? Ericsson's cloud story and vision, and our salespeople will talk to you about that all week, I'm sure. We can deliver both. So what is our 21st century view of the world? Really, when I was thinking about what I could talk about from an IT perspective, what I really thought about was, at the end of the day, what is cloud all about? What does the future of digital infrastructure look like? And really what it comes down to is, as head of IT, I want to have real-time information about what's happening in my network, about the performance of my applications, of all the services, the same things that Andre touched on that they're building. I need that as a head of IT. I can't afford to hear about a network outage through email, right? I need to be able to touch my screen, see what's happening real time, anywhere from Montreal all the way down to Santiago, Chile. I need to know these things. And the only way that's going to happen is through the cloud. The next an emerging phase, we've talked about it, are the industry and society verticals. Ericsson's launched maritime clouds, vehicle clouds, services as well. But really, I think, as I look at what's happening in the machine-to-machine space, I fundamentally believe that governments and regulators need to get involved and really push harder in the healthcare space, in the government space, and create the demand and the momentum to be able to make those other verticals work. So all of those industries and people need to connect through mobility. That is the fundamental pillar. We need to be able to connect through mobile networks. The operators are adding their COs, their data centers, and some of the things that we've already heard about this morning. Companies like Google and Amazon are building or have built their own public clouds, and enterprise data centers are being built out in large enterprises. But if you really think about it, things are still siloed. This infrastructure is still quite opaque, and the only way to really transform this and to meet Andre's objectives, of course, is to create one single experience, one economic model across that end, the slide that you're seeing, end to end, one economic model, one operational model, and most importantly, it has to be one programmable experience. And that's the promise of NFV and SDN. I'm not going to read this slide, but I think 25 years ago, if you were asked that if you believed that you would be able to carry a small device that fits in your pocket, communicate anywhere in the world, how many people traveled in from outside the U.S.? If I can see a few people. When you left your country of origin, your phone worked. When you landed here, your phone worked. None of us were probably worried about security, whether or not it's secure or not. So really, if you think about Ericsson's plans and what we're executing on from a cloud perspective, is we're really just taking all of the experience we have in building mobile networks and making them secure and seamless globally in 180 plus countries, and applying that to the data and compute space. So how are we getting there? And this is where I wanted to kind of flip and talk about what we're doing internally. It's not about a cloud strategy anymore. It's about modernization and industrialization of our infrastructure. So what does digital industrialization mean? I can read it for you, but it's converting IT systems into a continuously improving enabler and differentiator. Really, I like to simplify this and just say we're turning IT into an asset within the company. This is our DNA. So what are the data centers? What do our 21st century data centers look like? I think historically, people view data centers as just a big building with a lot of equipment in it that costs a lot of money. Ericsson's view on that is different. We're treating them as factories. And if we go back to the first slide that I showed around R&D, that's where our R&D factory and machine is really going to transform the company. For Ericsson, our data centers and what we call our global ICT centers are the engine for change of transformation and network virtualization. And it is the engine where hardware and software will be decoupled for the solutions that we provide to operators. The lattes are helping. I'm doing pretty good on time. So again, looking internally, so when we looked internally, we started a 10-year transformation at Ericsson that started 5 years ago. We're halfway through the transformation. We looked at the way we do R&D. I mentioned the numbers. When you spend $5 billion a year on R&D, people are watching. We want to make sure we're investing it wisely. We're investing in the right things. But this journey started years ago, but we've looked at how we're spending money, how we're working together, and then, of course, where our customers want us to go. And so we looked at our 50-plus sites around the world, focused on R&D, the 25,000 employees located in office leased buildings that weren't really purpose fit. We have high costs of WAN and connectivity solutions in all those locations. From a utilization perspective, the R&D sites were fairly siloed as well. There wasn't as much collaboration happening. From an environmental perspective or a sustainability perspective, much of the infrastructure was outdated. It wasn't green or limited green power. And then, most importantly, there wasn't a common, because each group functioned in silos, there wasn't a common way of working, a common O&M layer across all of our data centers and the R&D organizations. So we saw that as an opportunity, much like the operators are transforming themselves. And Andre touched on that earlier. But so not only do we want to talk about it or tell our customers that this is something that we can help them with, we're actually drinking our own champagne or eating our own dog food. So what does our GIC evolution or our Global ICT Center end state look like? And we have 3 Global ICT Centers, 2 in Stockholm and 1 in Montreal, Canada. This is where our R&D is primarily focused. What the GIC program, and I'm sharing what I can share publicly, but the intent of it is again, we're consolidating those 50 data centers into 3. We're virtualizing everything. We've made public announcements about the server architecture in partnership with Intel. It's a revolutionary way to approach our data centers. We're virtualizing everything. We have a common process globally. Security is common across all of the platforms globally. It's going to transform the way our R&D employees work. From a sustainability perspective, it's 100% green energy. So again, we're shedding the old architecture and moving to the new while we're in the midst of delivering new solutions for our customers, building more 4G networks all around the world, and then working on the promise of 5G at the same time. Another example that I can touch on at a high level that Ericsson's doing, again, eating our own dog food, is our application modernization program. This one's very near to my heart. Many of you in the room probably have problems with shadow IT, and we talked about that at the beginning. It's a function of speed and risk. But Ericsson's a year and a half into our own internal application modernization program, where we're looking at all the applications being used both within the enterprise or on the business side, within R&D, both globally and locally. We're assessing, doing a complete rationalization of all of those applications, looking for commonality, looking for ways to reduce costs, finding the best applications, purpose-fit applications. We're already going through the modernization activity of shutting down older applications, moving them to new applications, and investing in those. And at the end state here, over the next year, these applications in this application environment will be a growth engine for us. And we will be able to clearly show to you as our customers and partners and suppliers an end-to-end scope on how to complete a global application modernization program. So I put a selfish slide in here, but I think it's kind of fitting to what Andre and Joe were talking about. Since I'm in IT, I have to ask for something. But I started thinking about, what does the future of digital infrastructure look like? What do I want as the head of IT, right? And some of these things are fairly obvious, but we're just not there yet, right? It takes time to change. There's cultural issues that Andre mentioned. But I need to mobilize everything now. All of our applications, all of our infrastructure, from our buildings all the way to my employees. I want VoLTE to replace every landline infrastructure in all of our offices around the world. I don't want VoIP. We use VoIP, but I don't want VoIP. VoLTE clearly can beat the over-the-top VoIP solutions, and I need an SLA for voice. It's the fundamental way we communicate internally. Some of these things we're already doing, by the way, but I thought I would just touch on these to see how they fit into what you're trying to do and position in the marketplace. Real-time analytics, I mentioned earlier. I don't want to get an email telling me that the network's down or applications aren't performing. I want a dashboard at the touch of my fingertips, and I know that SDN and NFV can deliver that. We need ubiquitous LTE coverage everywhere, inside of every building, not just my offices, but everywhere. And I know there's a lot of meetings about small cells everywhere. That promise has to happen in order for SDN and this data avalanche to be successful. We need coverage so that we can watch Netflix on the Dragnet video or whatever we were trying to watch, but we need access at all times. I won't touch on all of these, but from an IT perspective, I want all of my applications. I want to be able to assess the performance of my applications real time. Think an app store, 5-star rate, 1 to 5-star ratings. I want all of the suppliers that provide services to me to have a rating by our consumers so that we can actually use mathematical facts instead of emotions around the quality of each application that's being delivered within our own IT environment. And of course, some of the last things, I need it to be available globally, and I need it to be completely secure. I've tried to share a few of the things that we're doing internally. Ericsson has very strong views about the digital future. I think the carriers and operators will share their views, but I think this is very, very much in line with what you're going to hear this week. I think some of the key things here is again, all of you need to focus on your software. You're a data company. We need to help the carriers deliver 100 times the IT and services at the same cost of today in order to meet that flood out in the Trinity. Everything must be programmable and accessible with one operational model, one economic model, and one programmable experience. The last thing I wanted to share is, change happens for two reasons, out of desperation or inspiration. And I touched on it earlier. It took 100 years to reach 1 billion fixed subscribers, 25 years to reach 6 billion subscribers. And as I look at the opportunity that we have in front of us over the next 5 years with SDN, with network function virtualization, it frankly gets me excited and gets me out of bed in the morning. So I hope that you have an inspiring week, hearing about what carriers are doing, and I hope you reach your goals and have a great conference. Thank you.